Nick, it's great to have you back on the show. How was everything at the College Football Hall of Fame a week ago?
Oh, it was fun. It's a long week, but you get to hear a lot of perspectives. It's kind of that back to school event, right? Where you get to see a lot of the media members you see some of the coaches players, SIDs, just all the above. So it's a lot of work and it is kind of a made for TV event these days, but it's a lot of fun just to be able to see people and hey, football's coming back to school. Good to see everyone.
The Crimson Tide made their appearance on Wednesday, but I know you were there a few days early, just kind of soaking in, getting some different interviews for AL.com. Just what was the mood from specifically like media members or different teams around the conference about Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide getting set for year two?
Yeah, I think there's optimism, Roger. That's the sense that I've gotten, not only from media members and people in Atlanta, but even in the state. To me, there's just a lot more. Okay, yeah, last season didn't go how Alabama wanted, didn't finish how Alabama wanted, but Kalen DeBoer went and got Ryan Grubb. They have added some key pieces. There are a lot of things that have gone well, and then of course the recruiting heater that Courtney Morgan, Bob Welton, and that staff have been on in the summer as well. So yeah, there's a lot of I think optimism, even though last season there were some things that didn't go as planned or maybe as Alabama fans would have wanted. But I think a lot of people believe, okay, Kalen DeBoer, year two at Washington, why can't he repeat that at year two at Alabama?
And for Kalen DeBoer, he had a lengthy opening statement in the main media room. What do you feel like he was trying to convey about his football team and his program once he did meet with the main media?
Yeah, a few things really. To me, one of the big ones is continuity and familiarity are two qualities that are going to help this team a lot. They didn't have any of that a year ago when replacing Nick Saban, players going in the portal, trying to piece a team together, trying to piece a staff together. And now they have a lot of that continuity. There was really only one change, big change in terms of a departure on the coaching staff. Otherwise, you bring in Ryan Grubb, and that's a change, but that's continuity. A lot of these guys worked with Ryan Grubb. Of course, Kalen DeBoer worked with Ryan Grubb. So, yeah, the staff is largely the same. And then player wise, they retained a lot of talent as well. Of course, you had some elite players like Tyler Booker, Jahad Campbell go out to the NFL draft. But overall, there's a lot of familiar faces. And so I think continuity is something that Kalen DeBoer has stressed throughout the offseason, but you can tell that he values that and it's going to help them a lot. And that makes sense because when you know people, you know how people work, you can maybe lean into them a little bit more. You can have harder conversations. You can have people trust that you have their best interests at heart. And then another thing that stood out, Roger, to me is Kalen and this team understand the pressure that they're facing because let's be honest, expectations at Alabama are unlike maybe anywhere else in the country where, yeah, a 9-win season is a good year in a lot of places. And it was a solid first year just looking at the record for Kalen DeBoer. But I think 9 wins in Tuscaloosa doesn't cut it. That just the level of expectation is so high that fans want and probably need more than that. And so I think that Kalen recognizes that. One thing that stood out to me too, Roger, Caden Proctor talked about how he really sensed, or I think he said something along the lines of, it's been a long time since we won a championship. Mind you, Roger, it's not even been 5 years. But in Tide years, those are like dog years. So it's been a while in Tuscaloosa without a championship because Nick Saban never went more than 3 years, and that's not a comparison of Saban and DeBoer, but it's a matter of this is what fans and this state is kind of conditioned to expect. And so, yeah, I think they understand the gravity of the moment, and I think they're working with that in mind.
Anything new we really gleaned on the quarterback competition for Alabama from either Coach DeBoer or the players that were in attendance?
Not really. It was kind of the same lines, same things that have been said in earlier parts of the offseason. But to me, at this point, I'm going to be pretty shocked if Ty Simpson is not the starter for Florida State for that game opening up in Tallahassee. At this point, I think it's his job to lose. And of course, the coaching staff has said he's the front runner, but I think he's going to have to do something to lose it. And I think part of that too, Roger, is this defense for Alabama is going to be pretty darn good. I'd be pretty surprised if they don't take that next step. So you have a good defense. Then on offense, you have some weapons. And so in a lot of ways, you want a guy who's maybe not going to make as many mistakes. I'm not saying he's got to be a quote unquote game manager, but you want a guy you can trust and a guy who knows what he's doing. And no, Ty has not played a lot of significant downs or football for Alabama, but he's been around and he knows what to do. And that's one thing that stood out from the 8A practice, if you will. was seeing how Ty, he didn't necessarily make any throws that just, oh my gosh, my jaw is on the floor. But he didn't make the same mistakes that maybe to the naked eye you could spot from the other guys in the competition. So I think Ty gives you that more trusted, safer option. And we'll see how it progresses throughout the season. There's no necessarily locking it up in week one, but I'm going to be really surprised if Ty doesn't get the first snaps.
On the defensive side of the ball, Deontay Lawson, we had him on this show earlier. Returning captain for the Crimson Tide, also made an appearance at SEC Media Days. Just how key is it to have him coming back? And if he's fully healthy, 100% ready to go for week one?
Yeah, I think it's the staff views it as kind of a coup to have him back. I mean, you got a guy who was a captain a year ago, you have a guy who's a talented player, and for all expectation levels, he was going to head to the NFL. I mean, he was pretty much ready to go, and then that injury, unfortunate for him and having to deal with that, but I think it gives him another opportunity to come back and continue to boost his draft stock. And he could be a key part of this team. Now they've got some good options at linebacker with Justin Jefferson. They added Nikhil Green from Colorado and some other options as well. But when you have Deontay Lawson, a leader, a talented player, I mean, that makes a big difference, especially in an era where there can be guys just changing rosters every season. And having a guy who's been around as long as he has, he understands expectations. He understands, like we talked about earlier, the pressure and just the what people anticipate and want in Tuscaloosa. That's so valuable to have on the team.
And how about for Caden Proctor as well, now being one of the key veterans of this team? Again, he was away for just a little bit at Iowa, quickly came back to the Crimson Tide last spring, but now he represented Alabama at SEC Media Days. Anything you learned that was really fun from Caden Proctor, besides maybe the cologne collection that he has?
Well, you stole my line because that was the biggest. Honestly, if you ask me like 2 years from now, Roger, what I'm going to remember most from SEC Media Days in Atlanta, it will probably be Caden Proctor's got 170 bottles of cologne, which I don't know how that happens or how you even accumulate that much cologne, but he's somehow done it, and he's on a mission to try to essentially change the narrative about big guys and smelling. And he's like, yeah, we got to smell good as big guys. So yeah, it was kind of a fun side of him to see that personality come through. And he talks some Taco Casa, being a close friend of Wilkin Formby. Just a lot of he was fun to talk to. You can tell he was enjoying it. And it has been fun to see his progression as just not only a player, but just kind of what he means to this team. I mean, you think about a year ago, he was just coming back from Iowa. And the fact that he's gotten to a point where he now is representing Alabama on a stage like that, that's pretty impressive that he's done the work behind the scenes to gain back that trust. Because easily a guy who leaves and comes back, I mean, that could put you in a tough spot. That could shake up some things in the locker room. But clearly, a lot of guys love him, and Alabama wants him to represent their program. So it really speaks a lot to what I think he's done in the past year.
How good should fans feel about this offensive line getting ready for the season?
I think pretty good. I mean, you return Caden Proctor, you return Jaden Roberts. Jaden Roberts might be the strongest guy on the team. And then you also have a Wilkin Formby who's been around a few years, and Parker Brailsford might end up being the best center in the country. So it kind of comes down to what does left guard look like and how does the right tackle spot progress? And how does Wilkin Formby do there? Because I would be surprised if he's not the starter in the week one game. And obviously he had some rough spots last year, but another year under his belt, more practice, more preparation. And yeah, how does he do? So there's some real strengths, Roger, but it's still a question of how does it all come together? I will say continuity, we talked about that earlier. Offensive line might be the most important position for continuity purposes. And they have three guys who have played together, who've been around, and Wilkin Formby's been around them as well. Now, Cam Dewberry might end up being the guy at left guard. And so that's maybe a new guy there. And yeah, you're without Tyler Booker. But I think overall, you have to like the fact that three of these guys have played together a good bit and really kind of four with Formby. So that continuity is so key and I think is going to help. But we'll see how good it is. I don't know if I'm ready to give them the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in the country just yet, but I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic.
Well, looking at Crimson Tide football again, media days, kind of a mid-July checkup, and then 1st of August will be the start of preseason camp for the Crimson Tide. That'll be your next chance to talk to Kalen DeBoer and members of this team. What are some of the key storylines going to be as camp begins in a couple weeks?
Well, quarterbacks is always going to be one until there's a certainty there. And even if there's not a certainty there, let's just say that they had declared Ty the starter already. Well, they still have to make sure he's ready to go and make sure that he's properly prepared for that role. So I think quarterback is always going to be a topic of conversation. Also, one thing that I'm curious about, Roger, is pass rush. How do they make sure that they have good, consistent pass rush? I think LT Overton's going to provide that, but who else can join him in that? Because if you only have one guy who's giving a good pass rush, it's kind of easy to plan for as an offense because you can just try to block that guy. You can send one, two, three, as many guys you want to stop that guy. But when it really becomes tricky is when you have multiple guys. When you have the okay, Will Anderson on one side, Dallas Turner on the other. I don't know that they're going to have that because those are two first, guys who became first round picks. So that was pretty high level. But yeah, can you have another guy in the team? Who else steps up to maybe help an LT Overton type? Maybe it's a Quay Russo. Maybe it's a James Smith on the defensive line. So I'm really curious to see where that comes from. And that to me is one of the biggest questions because otherwise, this defense, Roger, I have a lot of faith in. The secondary is going to be strong. But what does the pass rush look like? How strong is it? Who provides it? Those are my questions.
And then for the Crimson Tide men's basketball team, you cover Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide team as well. Always a lot of summer news in terms of the roster. Anything else really caught your eye regarding that basketball program?
It's a good question. I'm so in football mode mentally now, Roger. I got to take a shift for just a minute, but yeah, I mean, just the fact getting LeBaron back obviously is massive. And just talking to guys, there's a Bama and Boutwell event. I guess they're calling it Ballin and Boutwell now for this year, but they're going to be playing Florida State. The men's team is in that game. And yeah, talking to some guys at that event, you can tell, I mean, Houston Millette, Aiden Sherrill, when they found out that LeBaron's coming back, the difference that it makes, I mean, yeah, he's a talented point guard, but just where his game could go, the potential is, I mean, sky high. So I think just having him back is maybe the tip of the spear is a really exciting thing. But Aiden Sherrill, I want to see what his year two leap looks like because to me, going into the offseason, he was the most important guy to try to keep, even though I just said those things about LeBaron Philon because Aiden Sherrill could be such a matchup nightmare for teams if he can turn into the player that I think he can. Maybe it's not this year, maybe it's the year after, but I think chances are good he'll take that next big step in his game. So I really want to see what Aiden Sherrill can do and just see how these new pieces come together. I mean, that's always the question. We'll see what it looks like, but I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. And yet again, Nate Oates and Preston Murphy have put together, I think, a pretty darn good roster.
Yeah, they certainly have. Well, Nick Kelly, a lot to keep track of. Tell us about your coverage coming up in the next few weeks, both on AL.com. Then I know you're also heavily involved in the Beat Everyone podcast.
Yeah, all kinds of different things across platforms coming out, but we actually have a fun project coming out next week that a little less to do with right now Alabama football, but something I'm excited to share with folks starting next week. So keep an eye out for that. But AL.com, Beat Everyone on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can check it all out there.
We'll definitely stay tuned. Well, Nick, thank you for the time with us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. All the best. We look forward to catching up with you in the season. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much, Roger. Always enjoy it.